Context Channel. Today I want to show you just how cowardly the so-called human rights activists and Githeri media can be, in that these groups have been in history promoting protests, of course, against all government offices, maybe the State House, the Parliament, some of which commendable, but I want to show you that they themselves cannot stand being demonstrated against. This is in reference to yesterday, when a group of peaceful protesters protested to the office of one Boniface Mwangi, demanding the end to the ongoing protest. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with them, but I would like to believe they were representing their own democratic choice to protest. And this is how the Githeri media and how the so-called quote-unquote civil rights activists responded. Watch.
Attacks on civil society appear to be taking a new direction, with goons storming activist Boniface Mwangi's Sema Ukweli Kenya offices in Kilimani, Nairobi earlier in the day. A group captured on CCTV arrived in the estate that hosts the offices on motorbikes and blocked entry to the building for some minutes before exiting through the same gate. And as Emily Chebet reports, the civil society groups have raised concern over what they term as intimidation by government agencies in an attempt to silence them, vowing to continue exercising their constitutional rights.
2 minutes past midday on Saturday, 20th July 2024, this man in a green sweater is seen moving towards Sema Ukweli offices in Kilimani, Nairobi. He looks terrified. He is one of the employees here. He locks the gate quickly, and within seconds, strange visitors arrives on motorbikes outside the offices associated with activist Boniface Mwangi. The unknown men with an unknown mission carrying placards blocked the entry to the Sema Ukweli Kenya offices for a while.
Tumeamua kama vijana wa serikali hatutaki maandamano ya vijana, ndio vijana wanafanya. Sisi wenyewe kama wananchi tunakosa kazi.
8 minutes past noon, exactly 5 minutes later.
Just see, these are the kind of people that are called goons, and the Githeri media here, the Royal Media Service and others. Imagine calling people goons. What did you see here that is associated with goonery? There's nothing. Just see, these are very peaceful protesters, rode in, held their placards, conveyed their message, and then drove away. How on earth do you call these people goons? These are not goons. We have seen goons elsewhere. We have seen goons in Ongata Rongai, stealing shops, robbing people. We have seen them in Kitengela. We have seen them in Kibera, in Madare, sometimes in CBD, stealing from people, robbing shops, breaking into shops, and even fighting people. And now this group of people, just imagine a group of people just came in, held their protests, and aired their views, which they can have, and then drove off. As a Kenyan, kindly, please let me show, what did you see that can make you conclude that these are goons? There is nothing really. It's very interesting that the people that we call the so-called human rights activists are so cowardly that cannot themselves stand up to criticism. I don't understand that any of those human rights activists, let's say even Boniface Mwangi, Haki Africa, Africog, many others, or Sema Ukweli, including other names, can believe that the entirety of our Kenyan Republic agrees with them. None of them can guarantee that. Such that there are people who can dissent, democratically so. And if you dissent with what Boniface Mwangi has been saying, with what Haki Africa has been saying, with what Africa can be saying, then you can protest, like these organizations themselves protest. And how do you protest? Exactly what these guys did. Carried placards, went straight to these offices, and then displayed their placards well, and then read a very short statement and left. How dare you, if you're not a hypocrite, to call these people goons? And then you see these presenter calling them goons. You just understand how surreal the world is. Like this Githeri media has now courage to cast people however it wants. It's so surreal. This is actually gaslighting. it's treating people like they are mad. There's no way you can call people who just arrive and hold placards for 8 minutes. 8 minutes alone. Goons did not throw a single stone, did not light fire anywhere, did not shout, did not disrupt any activities of unrelated groups, and then you stand calling them goons. I really don't understand what is going on, but it is clear these so-called human rights activists are not human rights activists. They are anything but that. Maybe they are dictators that missed an opportunity. I cannot just be interested and laugh at how they are able or easily demonize everybody who stand against them. That's not democratic. We have been demonstrating against the government, and with all its weaknesses, at least it has handled the demonstrations right much better than these people. Yeah, it has been calling some goons, and rightly so. Some have engaged in goon activities. And again, I'm not trying to whitewash activities of some police officers or law enforcement officers, especially those stupid ones that are abducting people. But more or less, you haven't had the president or any other person calling everybody collectively as goons, but you can see the so-called human rights activists. And these reinforce what I've been saying, that these people, the so-called human rights activists and group, really need to go look into the mirror. Most of them are dictators that missed an opportunity to become an open dictator, and that's why they walk around bitter, trying to burn everything else down, which is really childish. You don't have to pretend to be a Samson. Like, if you cannot have something, you pull down the pillar so that it comes crumbling down. This is childish. It's time people started to taper their expectations, started to taper how much they can go with these rolling on and on and on, making many demands concerning everything. And another thing, there is this debate also going on concerning the funding that these groups receive from abroad. Of course, it's their democratic right to receive funding, but I would like you to help me verify, as a Kenyan, how do you verify that they receive these funds from unbiased institutions? Because let me tell you, or even as Olive Barrows asked in news this Saturday, the Saturday of 19th, that what will the Ford Foundation hope to achieve by causing chaos in Kenya? Seriously? Who doesn't know what they stand to achieve? The British government and the UK, the US government, through their organizations, are we really that we cannot understand what they will hope to achieve? It's right here in the work of a guy called Cecil Rhodes. Here, this one that I'm reading. And you see very well, they have stated their goal is to reestablish their colonial enterprise throughout South Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, as you can see here. Reestablish their Anglo-Saxons, that is the Englishman's colonialism, right here in South Africa, in East Africa, including in other regions across the world. So what makes us think that this time round, this Ford Foundation is not one of those English organizations that is planning to bring down the Kenyan society so that we can facilitate their recolonization? Let me respond to that. Olive Barrows and Citizen TV and anybody who asked what the Ford Foundation will be hoping to achieve if Kenyan state collapse. They will achieve what Batuk is doing in Nanyuki. They will achieve unlimited supply of Kenyan land, Kenyan port. The British occupied Mombasa port and used it for their interest from 1800. They were looting and staying there. And this is the same colonialism that the Americans are trying around Lamu. They want Lamu. They want our coastal strip. We know they want it. And the British want Kenyan Highland, which they call the so-called White Island. So Kenyans, as we protest in future, now that the key demands have been granted, let's think this thing does not need to keep on going. I know, as you can see in this work of Cecil Rhodes, that the UK and the US government are staring somewhere like vultures, waiting for the Kenyan state to collapse so that the UK can revert and call Kenya White Island and bring in settlers and thieves and rapists. And the US can use our coastal strip as a bulwark against so-called China. So we must not allow ourselves to be taken down that direction. And if President Ruto is even serious, this is not only about Ford Foundation. I know we've talked about it before. Other organizations are involved, including the Open Society Foundation, including the USAID. Its leader, Samantha Powers, revealed very well in 2021 that his organization works with the US military, the US Army. So when you see USAID give you money, it's trying to use the same money to achieve what the US Army will achieve using bullets and bombs. So when President Ruto or any other person saw Jill Biden come to Kenya, release these large obscene sum of money to quote unquote fight drought, I want you, anybody, to point one project that was used by this money towards contributing to fighting drought. There's nothing. And in fact, even yesterday, the representative of, that is on July 19th, the representative of Transparency International said there are around 8,000 Western-backed NGOs. What do? If you look at your ghetto, wherever you live, do you see work worth 8,000 NGOs? I mean, if Kibera or if Madare, if there were so many NGOs doing anything, each of them assisting, let's say 10 people, then Kibera will be Karen. Let's use our brains. You cannot allow foreigners, thieves, 8,000 of them to come set up shop, and all they do is train cadres of protesters who can be drawn on whenever protests are needed in downtown Nairobi. That's not NGO work. And I'm not saying that anybody should clamp down on them, but these people, whatever, those who thrive by asking aid from Western countries and ruining their countries, use your brain burner. We know this tactic was used as many years as early from the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire used to take children of tribal chiefs from regions it wanted to colonize and take them to Rome and indoctrinate them and teach them about the superiority of the Roman culture. Just like these people, John Githongo, Jeff Koinange, Ledama, and even Uhuru Kenyatta, all children of current former tribal chiefs. Coincidentally, all of them went to US or UK universities. They never did any engineering courses. They were taught political leadership or propaganda, that is the media. And then they were indoctrinated with the superiority of Western culture. And then they return here, now advancing primarily white man's interest. And they pretend like they are better than anybody. They are not. They should understand, even if they probably far ahead financially, we have families here to defend. And they should not now usher in a modern era of US colonialism like their forefathers could have ushered in the UK based form of colonialism. And that's why these people, you realize they only have negative things to say. Like Ledama telling it straight to King Charles' face, while we, the rest of us, were calling for the king to pay reparations for colonizing Kenya. He was the only person who said that the king's country, that's the UK, left Kenya in a better position. So you can see the kind of people I'm saying. And even John Githongo himself pointed out to thievery conducted by a number of Kenyans and the money that was hidden in the UK, but he never at one moment blamed the UK as being responsible for aiding the thieves in corrupting our country. And Jeff Koinange himself, in interviewing Lee Kimani, another old woman who is colonialist too, she equated learning English to civilization. She said that, quote unquote, I became civilized very early. That is, according to her, learning English was being civilized. Their mind cannot wrap around the fact that, for example, the people in Mombasa who lived in Mombasa, as Aban Batuta said in the 15th century. He came and found a functioning city with a mosque, with established religion. There was no British in Kenya, but still people are living as a society. That was civilization. But this class always wanting us to revert back to colonialism, they should know they don't have to sell the entire country for their little appetite. They don't have to. If they want to live abroad, they can take their families there, and maybe let us run ourselves with our own problems. There's no problem with it. We can build this country better. Yeah. Context channel. Like, share, and subscribe.